Hello guys, I'm going to show you a screen capture of a design that you need to implement as part of the website. You should have received this link. The link is a design in InVision. Um, in order to use InVision, you can always click down here, see all of the files that exist, but you normally don't need to come here. If you go to the first page, the home page, everything can be accessed from here. So here we go. Um, what you need to implement starts from here, pricing. When you click on pricing, you get three choices: marketplaces, retail stores, and influencers. In this clip, we are going to only talk about marketplaces. I'm going to record another one for retail stores. So for marketplaces, you click on marketplaces, there is a wizard that you get. This is the first page of the wizard. The way it behaves is that, excuse me, you make selections in every step, and in the first few steps, the price up here is not calculated, but it starts calculating in the third or fourth screen that I'm going to show you in a second. The first screen, you have a number of choices. These are hard-coded: media, CPG, malls, procurement, agency, and other. Media, CPG, and malls spawn three different flows. The rest are like malls. So for now, we are going to only talk about media. If media is selected, excuse me, let me go back for a second. You have a list of benefits on the right. These benefits, four of which are shown here, come from the database, and they are created as part of the admin application. You will need to create that too. But for now, let's just assume that these are a little, description and little image, and there's a more info here. And whenever you click on the more info, you get a little image here, some description, and if you click on the image, it should take you somewhere. So the stuff that are needed are link that is the destination of click on the image, a description title, and a description. Okay. So about the wizard area, next takes you to the next step. This is 1 out of 7. The next step, again, these choices can be hard-coded. These are checkboxes that the user picks which of these are their objectives. Again, the price is not calculated here. They can go back or move forward to the next step. Next step is where the magic starts. And you have this area up here where the price is now calculated based on the user's interactions. The way the user can interact with this page is through 4 sliders. The sliders have these values that also come from the same application that I told you about. But for now, you can assume the numbers on this design are accurate. So GMV values, the slider can slide between 10,000 and 100 billion. Now I know that this range is very wide, meaning that every little change in this slider will change the number tremendously. Given that, we have this little text box up here that the value can be entered, because imagine like if you move this for a tiny bit, all of a sudden you move to like 50 million, and it cannot be fine-tuned. Because of that, we have this text box where the exact value can be entered. By the way, these are in US dollars. There is also this checkbox up here. If the user says that their GMV is greater than 100 billion, then they just click on here. This slider is disabled, and up here, the approximation of the price and profit turn to call us because we can no longer calculate it at this point. So this is the interaction of the checkbox. Otherwise, these numbers lead to a price that you can calculate based on the document that I think Susan shared with you. So this is GMV. This is another slider. The platform commission goes between 0% and 40%. And so each of these, when the slider changes, the value that you show here on the tooltip changes, and those changes are reflected in the approximate profit and price range up here based on the formula that Susan gave you. Annual billing and monthly billing, these can be clicked to switch between, to switch these numbers. And the difference is very easy to calculate. Basically for annual, you go 10 times monthly. And whatever the monthly billing is, annual is going to be 10 times bigger. Not 12, 10 times. Each of these have a little more info icon where whenever you hover over those or click, either way will work, we get some information about what GMV is or what platform commission means. Those texts have to also be communicated with you by Susan. On the right, starting on this screen, we have a plan calculator. Basically, the changes that they make here break into 4 tiers. There is the pilot, there is a standard, a higher level, I don't remember what exactly it's called, and then the enterprise level, which is the last circle here. So depending on where these numbers fall and the approximate profit and price range fall, you have to pick or actually highlight the bigger circle. You will see that in the following pages. These down here are fixed values that relate to each tier. So in the standard plan, they are like higher number of stores, higher number of shoppers. In the pilot, there are smaller numbers. These also come from that same application that I told you about. I will show that to you in a separate video. And full comparison we will get to later. I will show that to you in a second. So again, next step. Here we have a list of stores, and these stores can come from the database. So there are API calls for the list of stores. And initially, all of the checkboxes are unchecked. The user, the prospect, gets to check whichever they want. This can be scrolled to show the list of all stores that are displayed. This does a select all up here. Add new store. They can request a new store to be added for them. You can click here, get such a dialog where they can enter which store they would like to have a connection with and add that store or cancel. The store gets added to the list, although it doesn't get added to the database. All of this data has to be captured and stored in a prospects table, not in the stores. Although this list comes initially from the stores list, the results, whatever the user chooses and selects, have to be stored in a prospects table. Um, as for the suggested stores, leave that alone. Don't do that just yet. This is something that we have to decide about later because it has business rules that we don't have right now. So no need to create this suggested stores part. The next step of this wizard is choosing your categories. By the way, if you noticed, now that I'm here, because of the stores that I presumably selected, my plan shifted to a higher level. Now it's a standard plan with more stores, more shoppers, and everything. Just wanted to point that out. Um, this is the categories list. Again, the list has to come from the database. It really has to come from the highest level of the database, not because there are categories and there are subcategories. This has to be list of categories. Otherwise, there are very many, and we don't want all of them here. Again, the user chooses which categories apply to them. There's also the add new category, which behaves exactly like the store. They can just request a new category to be added. Although, again, it gets saved as part of the prospect's information and not inside the categories table. And again, leave suggested categories alone for now. The next step is where they pick their influencers. Again, you see that the plan here changed. This is presumably based on what I selected in the previous step or in this step. This changes dynamically. So, and it changes based on the business rules that Susan has communicated with you. Here they get to choose which influencers they wish to work with. Again, list of influencers you can get from the database. The number of M cards that the influencers have is shown here. This is a filter. And people can type in. So they can say, just show me the ones that have more than 500 M cards. And it can default to 500, and you can show the ones that are over 500 actually. And they can also pick the number of followers. Again, all of this information should exist in the database. And influencers' interest should also exist in the database. If it doesn't, don't worry. Any of these, if they don't exist in the database, you don't need to put them in here. I'm pretty sure that number of M cards does exist. And I think number of followers too, but I'm not very sure about influencers' interest. If it exists in the database, show it in the form of a lookup and let the user pick what interests they are interested in. And so they can click on each of these circles, choosing the influencers that they are willing to work with or they are interested in working with. This list can also be scrolled. You can page based on like 10 influencers in every page or maybe 20. Again, the next step is this number of users. It is very much similar to what you have here. And this is also set in the same admin application that I told you about. The user can tell you which package they are interested in. The package of 10K shoppers or 1 million shoppers or 3 million shoppers or what. And each of these affect the plan here and affect their price, again, based on the formula that Susan provided. This is the last step. Here, they have seen the prices, they have seen the plans, and they can request a quote. Here is a form that they fill in with their information, full name, company name, and everything. And all of email, phone number, company name, and full name are required. The others, I mean, website URL referred by and comments are not required. But these like 4 top fields are required. And then they can say either get a quote or schedule your kickoff demo. In either case, this information, all of the choices that they made, all of their selections, has to be captured in a prospects table that can be used later by the super admin. And if they say get a quote, somebody gets an email. For now, who gets that email, leave it, open, and we will decide who will get that email. I think something like sales@mavitar.com, but we will give you that address. If they say schedule a kickoff demo, again, that same somebody perhaps gets another email, and we can take it from there. So this is all the interaction that there is for the marketplace path 1. When I say path 1, I mean the path that started. By the way, this is how you go back. You can click on marketplaces. The path that started with selecting media. Now the path for CPG and malls and the rest is a very little different. I'm going to close this video for now and then show you those other paths very briefly right after this.